see what else we got in here. Lots of recruit and action heating up with the spring game next week. Who do we be the first domino to fall? I mean, I'm not in the business of making crystal ball predictions on this channel. But crystal ball predictions have been made, and I made at least one. You can go check it out on Insider, but that's not what we're doing. Like, anybody that wants to tell you who they think is going to commit, like gonna throw a dart. I mean, we can throw a dart and say, I think so, but like, there's like 8 dudes. 8, 9, 10. And remember, you don't have as many 20 commitments in April as you did in March, at the start of March, as you did at the start of February. So there's lots of action that could happen. But I mean, to some of y'all's point, they commit. Do they sign? I mean, yeah, I get where you're coming from with that. But I think more to the point here is you have a bunch of kids and their families that are showing up. And more than that, you've had a bunch of unofficial visits during the middle of the weeks, which is kind of uncommon, right? I mean, Kendall Milton was on campus. Eric Gilbert was on campus. I got one going up about that later in the week. You know, you got a bunch of dudes that keep coming back. I mean, on this channel, right? Who'd you hear about? Aki Agumbi, who said, yeah, I'm making another trip. So I don't necessarily think about it as who is going to commit. I think about how many bodies they're going to have at this spring game, where a lot of y'all are really excited to go to a Lee Brice concert and watch some vanilla football, which is fine. I'm excited to watch some vanilla football. I am not excited about no Lee Brice, but y'all understand where I come from with that, and I get that. But point that I'm making here is, don't focus on what the first domino might be or who's going to be the first one to commit. Although you probably should look to that Friday before spring game like they did last year, if that's what you going to lock in on Twitter. That's when I would lock in on Twitter. But I would look at it more from the standpoint of how many of these people are showing up to see what Oklahoma has to offer. And yeah, it's Oklahoma, and everybody here, for the most part, feels that way about there's only one. But I need to remind you, there's only been one championship since 2000. And the mere fact that Lincoln Riley can continue to get bodies, and not just bodies, but top recruits onto campus speaks more about his recruiting than it does anybody else. Saban has championships to recruit to, right? Georgia has a championship game to recruit to. Clemson has a championships to recruit to. The fact that Oklahoma can still put on one of the biggest spring game recruiting weekends of the season just does not come across, I think, as much as it should. Because, yeah, they played the college football playoffs. Ask them how many they won. All right. Ask them how the defense was. You see where I'm going with this? Like, if you know the right questions to ask, you got to really be paying attention to what Lincoln Riley has to say. And when they say it, apparently it's getting through. Matter of fact, to that point, I talked with Dante Manning, and that video will go live on the channel here in a little bit. We did a nice little Q&A. My man's is real high on what not just Roy Manning has to say about him, and they're not related, right? Just get that out there. They call each other cousin, but they're not, like, related. But he's listening to what Alex Grinch is saying, and I think one of the things that's a strength of Alex Grinch is that dude sugarcoats nothing. That dude is going to tell you what he thinks and why he thinks it, and he's going to tell you straight to your face. And that honesty, that bluntness is undervalued in this game, where most people are going to tell you what you want to hear because they will try to use you to get what they need. I mean, when you get down into college football, you get to the nitty-gritty, we got millionaires trying to recruit kids who have nothing to play for free for 3 years for an opportunity to play at the next level where they might be millionaires, but most likely won't. I mean, in today's upload, I was talking about the alliance is dead, all but. You know, Tom Dundon said, we are indefinitely suspending operations for the Alliance of American Football. What does that tell you? Tells you that a lot of dudes thought they were going to make 70 G's this year, ain't making 70 G's this year. And that is not as foolproof as they thought it would be. And that is what you're selling to children and their families. All while you sit as a coach, coordinator, making hundreds of thousands of dollars if you are a position coach at a big-time college football program like Oklahoma. And all you do is stack your paper year after year, you a millionaire. While you tell the 18-year-old to work his butt off so that he can do what? Maybe have a shot? At this point, I'm wondering why more kids just don't decide to go straight into coaching. Because that's where the loot is for your skills. You can teach this game of football at the highest level. That's where the guaranteed loot is. That's where you can spend 20 years as a head coach. 20 years, the same job. Ask your dad how many times he's got fired in his life. Right? Now ask him if he got to spend 20 years, same job, making $1 million a year. and then some, plus bonuses. You know, I never will forget. Butch Jones took North Carolina for 3 wins, 4 wins, got the Arkansas job with a $400,000 raise. Most of y'all ain't gonna see $400,000 in the next 2 years. You might see it over 10 if you make $40 a year. College football is skewed, man. It's skewed.